So good morning friends, welcome to Raj Malhotra IAS. So guys, here we are about to start the session and don't forget to press on the reminder button whenever you get the link. जब भी आपको link मिलता है, please do press the reminder button so that you can get the notification. Okay. So आपको notification मिल सके. So here the PDF for today's session has been uploaded on our Telegram group. You can download the PDF from there. सो कहीं ना कहीं हमारे टेलीग्राम ग्रुप पे आपको पीडीएफ मिल जाएगा आज का. इट इज़ क्वाइट अवेलेबल ओवर देयर. एंड फ्रेंड्स, देयर इज़ वन मोर रिक्वेस्ट. इफ दीज सेशंस आर हेल्पिंग यू आउट, सो प्लीज़ कीप आर मोरल अप बाय जस्ट गिविंग अप अ थम्स अप. ओके, सो आप हमारा मोरल अप कर सकते हो. हमें सिर्फ लाइक चाहिए. दिस इज़ द ओनली थिंग दैट वी आर आस्किंग हियर. सो लाइक here we are about to start this particular session. Sufficient number of people have already joined us. Okay, Vivek, Preeti, Pradeep, Priyanka, Karn, Rajeshwari, Aarti Mishra, Shivani, Pradeep, good morning. Good morning everyone. So again the topic will be same as you can see on the screen itself. The war that is going on between Russia and Ukraine. Devi Prasad, Priyanka, Rangunatham, good morning. सो नोमिका, गुड मॉर्निंग. तो ये टॉपिक चलता रहेगा एंड यू हैव टू कीप अ क्लोज वॉच ओवर इट. आई एम गोइंग टू ब्रिंग सम न्यू फैक्ट्स टू यू टुडे. कुछ नया आज हम लोग दोबारा देखेंगे. ओके, सो जस्ट गिव मी अ मिनट. वी आर हियर अबाउट टू स्टार्ट. बिल्कुल एक मिनट में हम लोग इस सेशन को शुरू करने वाले हैं. सो स्टे कनेक्टेड विद अस. ओके, स्टे कनेक्टेड विद अस. अनिकेत, प्रीति शर्मा, गुड मॉर्निंग. सो लेट्स स्टार्ट द सेशन देन विदाउट वेस्टिंग मच टाइम. सो देखते हैं आज की अखबार हमारे लिए क्या खास लेके आई है. सो हेयर वी हैव दिस पर्टिकुलर न्यूज दैट इज मिसाइल्स आर हिटिंग नाउ द सिटी, द कैपिटल सिटी ऑफ Ukraine here, and like there is a complete chaos going on. Videos are coming out. Yesterday I saw one video where the Russian tank was targeting one of the civilian moving vehicles. Okay, car को target किया है उन्होंने. So this is how right now the situation is. So war is very dangerous thing and this will be proved in the coming days when we are going to have the assessment कि कितना नुकसान हुआ है. Okay, so this is what is there in this particular like article here. And our students, they are moving to Romania, so they are like, we are still struggling over there. Struggling in the sense that we have to take out nearly 18,000 Indians. Okay, so it's a very big exercise. So 470 of the students who are studying in Ukraine, they somehow managed to move to Romania, and from that route they will be taken out from there. Okay, so this is the, you can say, scenario right now. Biden is announcing additional sanctions on Russia, but now the fundamental question is that will these sanctions work? Will these sanctions work? Okay, this is the question that you have to understand. Now, economic sanctions. Look at the present situation right now. Russian economy, if I like look into some aspects. Okay, so I hope you remember one fact that in 2014 Russia annexed Crimea. So at that time Crimea was annexed, and what happened when this annexation was taking place? Okay, at that time as well sanctions were brought in by these western countries. तब भी sanctions लगे थे, western countries ने लगाए थे. So this time, before carrying out this type of mass, you can say, uh, invasion of Ukraine, Putin was already prepared. Putin was already prepared. Why I am saying this particular scenario? Look at few of the factual things that are there. Okay, now Russian government, their debt, okay, their debt, if you see, it is just 18%. सिर्फ 18% debt है Russian government का. Whereas if you see the debt of US government, it is 136%. You can easily see how prepared Russian government was. There was another factual thing. Look at the forex reserve that Russians are having. Okay, forex reserve that Russians are having, that is quite equivalent to $600 billion, and it is sufficient. If you look into the Russian economy size, रशिया की इकोनॉमी साइज को देखोगे तो $600 बिलियन बहुत है उनके लिए. So this is the present picture that is there. It means that these sanctions are not going to work. These sanctions are not going to work because Russian economy was already prepared for something like that. पिछले कुछ सालों में ये प्रिपरेशन की होगी इन्होंने. ओके, इट इज नॉट जस्ट 1 month or 2 months प्रिपरेशन दैट इज देयर. दे हैव स्ट्रेंथन्ड देयर इकोनॉमी. लाइक लास्ट ईयर रशिया हैड सरप्लस बजट आया है उनका. ओके, इट मीन्स दैट लाइक रेवेन्यू वॉज मोर देन द एक्सपेंडिचर. So all these factual things are there on the ground. And look at the other things. When we say energy dependency of Europe, okay, energy dependency of Europe and how Russia has played this particular thing. Now for 1/3 of their oil and natural gas, they are dependent on Russia. They are dependent on Russia, and specifically the Eastern European countries. Some of the Eastern European countries, they are dependent on Russia for 100% of their supply. ईस्टर्न यूरोपियन कंट्रीज 100% सप्लाई के लिए रशिया के ऊपर डिपेंडेंट हैं. सो दिस इज हाउ द होल प्लानिंग हैज बीन डन. ओके, ये सारी प्लानिंग यहाँ पे की है, एंड दैट्स व्हाई वट एवर दीज यू कैन से दिस वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज आर पॉइंटिंग आउट कि भाई हम तो ये करेंगे, सैंक्शन लगाएंगे, इट इज नॉट गोइंग टू प्रोड्यूस एनी रिजल्ट एट ऑल. कुछ भी खास रिजल्ट यहाँ पे नहीं आया है. नाउ द फाइट इज गोइंग ऑन इन यूक्रेन. इट इज फ्रॉम ऑल साइड्स. It is from all sides, and you have to analyze few factual things that why this invasion was so swift. इतना आसान क्यों था ये invasion? Okay, look at this is the physical map of Ukraine here with you. Okay, now you have just one mountain range in the western part. Okay, Carpathian mountains are there. Apart from them, you can see the geography of Ukraine. The natural barriers are not existing. नेचुरल बैरियर्स इतने ज़्यादा एग्जिस्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं. ओके, नेचुरल बैरियर्स इतने ज़्यादा एग्जिस्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं. लुक एट द हाइट ऑफ दिस कार्पेथियन माउंटेन्स. नाउ इट इज जस्ट देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड माउंट होवेरला. इट्स जस्ट 2061 meters high. 2061 meter high. So natural barriers are not existing here. Okay, so this is the factual thing that you have to understand. That's why this whole invasion military exercise is very swift. They have invaded, पूरी की पूरी boundary में घुस गए हैं, and the war has started. So all these factors have to be looked into before like coming to any conclusion that how the war will proceed. तो आपका geography भी आपको protection देता है. Okay, so in India's scenario we have Himalayas in the top, and they are a big barrier and a big protector to us. Okay, invasion इतना आसान नहीं होगा, at least from the north. It is going to be very difficult. So this is the factual thing you have to understand. Okay, now before rushing to next point, one of the concern that Russia has, and this is their security concern, the concern says that historically if you see, okay, whenever Russia has been attacked, जब भी रशिया को अटैक किया गया है, it was only through this route only. यहीं से ही अटैक हुआ है वहां पे. Okay, so Hitler also came from this particular route. Napoleon also came from this particular route. Okay, that's why this whole region is critical for the Russian security, and this is what Putin is saying, that we will definitely protect our borders. हम अपने frontiers को protect करेंगे. And in this whole equation that is going on, you have to put some blame on Europeans as well. European countries भी इस चीज के लिए responsible हैं, and we have to analyze the history from that. You need to understand, during the Second World War, Germany attacked Poland. During the Second World War, Germany attacked Poland. Okay. Now the point here is that it was inability of the Poland. Okay, it was inability of the Poland that France and United Kingdom, they have to enter the war. They declared war after 2 days. 2 दिन के बाद इन्होंने लड़ाई शुरू कर दी थी, because Poland was not having the capacity to protect itself. This is what you have to blame. These European countries, they have not invested in their defense. अपने defense में इन्होंने invest नहीं किया है over the time, and they have not learned from the history as well. अगर हिस्ट्री के अंदर पोलैंड इतना कैपेबल होता दैट इट वुड हैव बीन एबल टू प्रोटेक्ट इटसेल्फ फ्रॉम जर्मनी, देन फ्रांस एंड यूनाइटेड किंगडम वुड नॉट हैव बीन रिक्वायर्ड. उनकी जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ती, उनकी जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ती. So in the present time as well, if Ukrainians, they would have strengthened their forces, and apart from Ukraine, look other players as well. All these Eastern European countries, if they would have strengthened themselves, okay, to deal with such type of crisis, NATO and United States intervention would not have been required. उस चीज की जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ती यहाँ पे, उस चीज की जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ती. So you have to analyze few things that they are not learning from the history, and since World War II, okay, they were not playing any role at all. These European countries, they were completely dependent on United States. जैसा चल रहा है चलते रहो. Okay, this was the scenario. And there is counterpoint to that. Now Putin, okay, Putin is authoritarian in nature, and this particular point is also very critical. There is something called dictator's trap. एक बात समझनी है, पुतिन जो है वो थोड़े अथॉरिटेरियन है, एंड देयर इज अ थिंग कॉल्ड डिक्टेटर्स ट्रैप. ओके, व्हाट डज दिस डिक्टेटर ट्रैप मींस? नाउ पुतिन इज सराउंडेड बाय दोज इंडिविजुअल्स हु जस्ट वांट टू से यस. पुतिन के आसपास वही लोग हैं जो सिर्फ बोलेंगे यस, गो अहेड विद द वॉर. War will not produce any damage to the Russian system or Russian economy. There is no issue with the war. This is the dictator's trap, and he is in dictator's trap. Now, one of the consequences of dictator's trap is that the chances of mistake will also increase. Chances of mistake can increase here. Okay. If mistake in the sense, if by mistake Russia extended this war to any of the NATO countries, now these are the small ones, okay, and if you look into the geography of this particular, these three, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, it is quite easy for Russia to attack. रशिया के लिए बहुत easy है यहाँ पे अटैक करना. Okay, look at the present picture here. Now this is Kaliningrad, and this is the part of Russia. It means that Russian forces are present here. In Belarus as well, Russian forces are present. In this part of the region, the forces are present. So it is quite easy for Russia to attack these three countries. इन तीनों countries में attack करना कितना आसान है, आप खुद ब खुद देखिए. And this is how, what we say, dictator's trap. If somehow Putin tries to, you can say, cross the limit, though he has already crossed it in the case of Ukraine. अगर करता है, then what will be the response of NATO? The whole incident has fundamentally put a question mark over the capacity of NATO. NATO की capacity के ऊपर ही question mark आ गया है. Whether these European countries, are they able to protect themselves? क्या अपने आप को कभी बचा पाएंगे? There is another question mark over the existence of international bodies like United Nations. Like, are they relevant? कहीं से आपको रेलेवेंट नजर आ रहा है? देयर इज अ कंसेप्ट कॉल्ड जिसकी लाठी उसकी भैंस. ओके, लाइक पावरफुल कंट्रीज, they are using these systems, okay, for their own interest, and they don't follow the international trend and international organizations. So these fundamental questions they have been asked right now. ये सारे के सारे चीजें जो है आज की डेट में सामने आ रही हैं कि ये पूरा का पूरा ऑर्डर क्या है. ओके, what is the scenario here going on? It is not just about the Ukraine and Russia. The impact will be there in the international politics as well. Geopolitics, global politics के अंदर भी इसका असर पड़ेगा. What is the role it is going to be there in the global politics? One thing is that it has been proven that NATO countries, okay, along with United States, they are on a wrong foot and they are appearing to be weak. Look at the events that have happened in the past. US moved out of Afghanistan, okay. like facing a dual challenge in the form of China, whether to contain China or to deal with Europe. This is the dilemma that US is going to face right now, and somehow it is appearing that US is not able to address any of them. कोई भी मामले को address नहीं कर पा रहा है. And other point is that, like, look at the present era that is there. This complete century is like considered to be the start. Is that the dictators, they will play important role. Authoritarian leaders, they will have important role. Dictators, authoritarian leaders, इनका major role होने वाला है यहाँ पे. So these are few things that you have to understand. ये सारी चीजें आपको समझनी है यहाँ पे. It is not just about war. It is going to change the picture of the global world order. जो हमारा वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर बना हुआ था, इट इज गोइंग टू चेंज. इट इज गोइंग टू चेंज. इट इज गोइंग टू प्रूव दैट यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स, लाइक, इट इज नॉट गोइंग टू हैव हेजीमनी एनी मोर. कहीं ना कहीं हेजीमनी नहीं आएगी अब इनकी. And there is another angle to that. Russia is still a relevant player in global politics, specifically in European politics. So all these European countries, they cannot outrightly reject the role of Russians. बिल्कुल भी रशिया के रोल को ये रिजेक्ट नहीं कर सकते हैं, एंड दे हैव टू एक्सेप्ट इट दैट रशिया इज अ पार्ट ऑफ यूरोप, एंड द थिंग्स दैट all these countries are carrying out, it cannot be done without addressing the Russian concerns. So all these points are there. All these points are there. Okay. So this is the complete scenario. ये सारी चीजें आपको देखनी है. Geography समझिए आप उसकी. Okay. So prelims के लिए अगर हम बात करें, like these, you need to understand that Carpathian Mountains, they are existing like in Ukrainian part. Okay. In Romanian part. So आपको थोड़ा आइडिया उस चीज का भी होना चाहिए. ठीक है ना. थोड़ा आइडिया उसका होना चाहिए. लाइक बाय दिस टाइम यू मस्ट बी इजिली knowing that Sea of Azov is the extension of Black Sea. कहीं ना कहीं ये ब्लैक सी का एक्सटेंशन है, एंड दिस होल रीजन इज इंपॉर्टेंट फ्रॉम द रशियन परस्पेक्टिव. ओके, बिकॉज दे हैव जस्ट वन नेवल फ्लीट, एंड दैट नेवल फ्लीट हैज द प्रेजेंस इन दिस पार्ट ऑफ दिस कंट्री. इसी पूरे के पूरे एरिया में रशिया का एक नेवल फ्लीट है. इट हैज जस्ट वन. रशिया हैज नॉट इन्वेस्टेड दैट मच इन इट्स नेवी. वो मिसाइल टेक्नोलॉजी में ज्यादा इन्वेस्ट करता है. ओके, so United States, they have lot of aircraft carrier and all. So Russia has just one, and that is existing in this part of, you can say, of Russia. Sea of Azov or Black Sea के around रहता है. So that's why, like, the region has been completely, you can say, blocked right now. Ukrainians, they have completely spread mines in the region. यहाँ पे जो है sea mines हैं ताकि ships ना आ सकें. Okay. So this is the complete picture that is there. तो ये पूरा आपको ध्यान होना चाहिए. And the point here is that the attack of Russian forces have been from all sides, even from the southern sides. Okay. So ये सारी चीजें हैं जो आज की डेट में आपको दिखती हैं. So कुछ खास फर्क पड़ने नहीं वाला है. Let them do what they want to do. Okay. So this is the present scenario that is there. Now, surprise enemy with Indian arms. This is what Prime Minister is saying. So he is coming about, he is saying few things about आत्मनिर्भरता, and specifically in the defense sector. Okay. तो defense sector के अंदर ये, like, we need to be आत्मनिर्भर, and this is the time that we have to understand. अब देखो, why I am saying that this is the time that we have to realize this thing. Now we bought S400. Okay. We are dependent on Russian for spare parts. Now the point here is that, like, if country like Russia is at war with any other country, अगर रशिया किसी और के साथ वॉर पे है, ओके, सो डेफिनेटली इन दैट सिनेरियो योर सप्लाई लाइंस विल बी इम्पैक्टेड. आपकी कहीं ना कहीं सप्लाई लाइंस इम्पैक्ट होंगी. ठीक है ना. रशियंस डेफिनेटली दे विल सप्लाई देयर इक्विपमेंट्स टू देयर ओन फोर्सेज ऑन प्रायोरिटी. अपने फोर्सेज को प्रायोरिटी पे देंगे वो. ओके. आपको शायद नहीं देंगे. So this can be a crisis for you. This can be a crisis for you, and this is what we have to understand. So that's why we have to focus upon producing and manufacturing arms domestically. आपको खुद ब खुद domestically in arms को produce करना है. And the point here is that the angle that you have to understand, okay, like why this particular thing is important from other perspective is that if you talk business, export की बात भी करें हम, for that reason as well it should be done domestically. आपको सारा production domestically करना पड़ेगा. For creating employment, domestic employment, this is also a valid reason. This is also a valid reason here. Okay. So all these factors have to be looked into, and the point here is that you have to assure quality as well. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि that we start compromising in quality in the terms of आत्मनिर्भरता. So all these factors need to be understood, and I would like to take you to the historical facts that how we have undermined the Indian defense industry. Okay, now during the World War II, British, they established some of their manufacturing centers in India, specifically the repair centers. Aircraft repair centers, they were established in India. Okay. Now they were established, but look what happened. It took us so many years to make our own fighter aircraft, that is Tejas. अब पहले से ही आपके यहाँ पे फैसिलिटी वॉज अवेलेबल, बट स्टिल इट टुक ईयर्स टू यू. The facility was available, but it took years to you. This is what you have to understand. So somehow we did commit a mistake by neglecting the production center, defense production center, and opportunity was lost. आपके यहाँ पे already थोड़ा बहुत arrangement available था, but over the years we neglected it, and we knew this particular fact from the point that in 1962 we were not prepared for the war at all. We were not prepared for the war at all. And the significant point that we have to learn from the present crisis is that you cannot trust the authoritarian regime. आप dictators को trust नहीं कर सकते हो, and China is also ruled by dictator. This is the point you have to understand. Even take example of Pakistan. Pakistan is not having a democratically elected prime minister. So that Prime Minister Imran Khan is supported by Pakistani army. So you cannot trust them. You cannot trust them. So citing the challenge that we are facing in our neighborhood, we have to do a lot. You have to prepare for this thing. Okay, आपको उस चीज के लिए प्रिपेयर करना होगा. So these are few things that are there. Okay, तो ये कुछ चीजें हैं जो यहाँ पे बताई गई हैं. So let's directly move to the editorial section. सीधा editorial section पे आएंगे and let's see what exactly is there for us. Okay, सीधा देखेंगे क्या है यहाँ पे, and definitely in the editorial as well, like 2 editorials are there and they are focusing on the Russia crisis. Okay, Ukraine Russia crisis. तो यही आजकल न्यूज में रहने वाला है. You will find multiple editorials in the coming days as well. Now Putin moves a hardly chest thumping. Okay, so like Mr. Rakesh Sood, very experienced diplomat, he is pointing about few things. He is saying that, like, can we say that Russia is really winning? There are few things when you look into the aspect. One is your tactical victory. एक चीज होती है tactical victory. Okay, that you have sent the troops and they have achieved your targets. आपके target achieve कर दिए. Tactical targets, small targets. ठीक है ना? What about the strategic targets? Okay. What about the strategic targets? Now the point here is that when you look into the strategic target, that is long-term goal. So he is saying that it has been appearing that in the long term, okay, Russia might be at loss. रशिया को कहीं ना कहीं लॉस होने वाला है. ओके, ठीक है जी, इसको भी देखेंगे कैसे. नाउ ही इज सेइंग फ्यू थिंग्स. ही इज सेइंग दैट अर्लियर यूरोप वाज डिवाइडेड. ओके, ऐसा लगता था कि यूरोप डिवाइडेड है, बट राइट नाउ विद दिस पर्टिकुलर डेवलपमेंट अगेन द नेटो कंट्रीज, देयर यूनिटी हैज इंक्रीज्ड. उनकी यूनिटी इंक्रीज हो गई है. उनकी यूनिटी इंक्रीज हो गई है. Look at this particular picture. So you have deployment from different countries here. Now Americans, they are also sending their arms and ammunitions. Okay, Canadian, British, all these have the presence. उनकी सबकी यहाँ पे presence है. ठीक है ना? So this is the point you have to understand, that somehow NATO countries, all of them, they have decided कि भी they will fight them out together. साथ में मिलके इनके साथ लड़ना ही पड़ेगा. Okay, so this is the scenario right now. And apart from that, definitely it's a challenge for us. हमारे लिए तो challenge है ही है ये. Okay, so you need to understand, India and China, they did not participate in the United Nations Security Council meeting. Okay, India China दोनों ने ही participate नहीं किया है. They abstained from voting. They abstained from voting. Okay, so this is the scenario and it was likely to happen. So this is the update that I got recently. अभी मेरे फोन में नोटिफिकेशन आया है जो मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ. सो ये पॉइंट समझना जरूरी है, लाइक एंड व्हाट डज इट मीन? यूनाइटेड नेशन सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल में हम वोटिंग में नहीं गए, व्हाट डज इट मीन? इट मीन्स दैट इनडायरेक्टली वी आर सपोर्टिंग रशियंस, इनडायरेक्टली वी आर सपोर्टिंग रशियंस, ओके? वी आर नॉट क्रिटिसाइजिंग, हम रशिया को क्रिटिसाइज नहीं कर रहे हैं, वी आर नॉट बीइंग प्रेशराइज्ड बाय यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स, बोथ यूएस एंड रशिया दे वर पुटिंग प्रेशर ऑन अस, दोनों हम पे प्रेशर डाल रहे थे, ओके? सो द बेस्ट वे वॉज दैट यू डोंट टेक पार्ट इन द वोटिंग इटसेल्फ, आप वोटिंग में पार्ट ही ना लो, एंड दिस इज व्हाट इंडिया डिड, दिस इज व्हाट इंडिया डिड. सो दिस इज गोइंग टू टर्न फ्यू थिंग्स फॉर अस एज वेल, हमारे लिए भी तो चीजें बदलेंगी यहाँ पे. So Putin right now it is appearing that he has won some of the, you can say, brownie points, but in the long run it is not going to be easy. इतना आसान नहीं होगा. But I am telling you this thing, you need to trust the Russians' internal strength, okay? The internal strength of Russia. Like there is a history, Russians have this nature. Whatever challenges that they have faced in the past, पूरी के पूरे past उनकी history में जितना challenge उन्होंने face किया है, their population they have a resilience for that. Nazis they came, Germany ने attack किया, Russians resisted. Napoleon attacked, they resisted. The whole Ukraine, the Cold War era, they resisted. Presently time these sanctions are in place since 2014 and their economy is resisting. So somehow it is being said that they have a resilient economy and it is being seen here. वही चीज आपको यहाँ पे दिखती भी है कि resilient economy है उनकी, okay? So इतना कुछ खास फर्क पड़ेगा नहीं है ये, like they are, Mr. Rakesh Sood is writing this editorial, okay? So he is giving his point of view, but I am also putting few things here. Now Russian president's action this week may yield tactical gains, but like if you see the strategic victory, it is not going to be strategic victory नहीं होने वाली है, okay? So he is saying that this military operation was completely, you can say, announced, and we know that they were recognized two republics, okay? So these two republics were also recognized, all things are known to you, okay? So he is pointing towards one of the message that we got from this particular development. अब हमें सीखने के लिए क्या है? So in the post Cold War era, so like we were saying that the whole countries were saying that there will be rule based international order, सब लोग rule के हिसाब से चलेंगे, there will be no wars, everyone will respect the sovereignty of other. The clear message, the Thucydides war message is that the strong do what they can and the weak suffer what they must, okay? The strong do what they can and the weak suffer what they must. This is the point you have to understand. Right now, no one is coming to rescue Ukraine. कोई भी यूक्रेन को रेस्क्यू नहीं कर रहा है. My question is that, will they come to help India? Will they come to help India? You need to understand this thing. This is the fundamental question. We are also having this dispute here. That's why the message is that you have to strengthen yourself. No one will come to your rescue. Look how these European countries are divided. They are playing for their own interest. सब अपने अपने interest के हिसाब से खेल रहे हैं. Okay, why I am saying this? Everyone is playing with their own interest. Okay, look, the you can say the Germans here. Okay, Germans are saying that they need Russians for the Nord Stream pipeline. Now this is the gas pipeline which is there. So Germans are saying that हमें ये gas pipeline मिलनी थी. Like why should we oppose Russia completely? हम क्यों completely जाके oppose करें? And Germans were not ready to give arms to Ukrainians. They were not ready to give German-made weapons to Ukrainians. तो वो German-made weapons भी Ukrainians को देने को तैयार नहीं थे. Okay, so this is what you can understand how these countries they play like these games here. Now definitely in 2022 Russia has fired the first shot, but NATO is not to blame either. So this is how NATO was stagnant. They were living in that era कि कुछ नहीं होगा, and it was out of a sudden it created a problem. Okay, and NATO is to be blamed because NATO's expansion is one of the reason for this particular crisis. भाई कहीं ना कहीं एक reason ये भी है कि NATO expand हुआ है आपका. Look at this picture here. Now this is the historical agreement that was done, okay, with the fall of Berlin Wall in 1989. there was an agreement between the Soviet president Gorbachev and the US leader, okay, to help ease away the German unification. And this, the thing was that it was promised that NATO will not be expanded, okay. At that time, the promise was made there would be no extension of NATO's jurisdiction in the coming time towards east. But ऐसा नहीं हुआ. Look what happened over the years. Look what happened over the years. USSR was disintegrated, okay. USSR was disintegrated, but that didn't stop United States to expand NATO, and they keep on expanding it. State after state, country after country was added to the NATO. हर थोड़े टाइम में countries add हो रहे थे. Okay. So this is the point. They had this open door policy that our doors are open, NATO will keep on expanding, and they will not stop. And we know this particular fact. So beginning in 1999, NATO has added 14 new members. And in 2008, US President Bush, he urged that Ukraine and Georgia should also be added. Ukraine and Georgia should also be added. Okay. Now, why this was a major crisis in making? You need to understand one thing. If you know the dynamics of national security, okay, अगर आप national security का dynamics पढ़ें, so Henry Kissinger, who was a national security advisor to United States, he had proposed this idea that different countries, they have their own definition of national security. सभी countries की अपनी एक national security होती है, and the definition of national security for Russia is that extend the borders, okay, expand the borders so that the Moscow is far away from the crisis. मॉस्को जितना क्राइसिस से दूर होगा उतना ज्यादा वो सेफ रहेगा. दिस इज द रशियन डेफिनेशन ऑफ नेशनल इंटरेस्ट एंड नेशनल सिक्योरिटी. आई एम सेइंग दिस थिंग. रीड दिस बुक, okay, by Henry Kissinger, called World Order. This is the name of the book. Very popular book. Read this book. There you will come to know that different countries, they have their own definition of national security. So Russians have this national security कि मॉस्को को जितना दूर रखोगे क्राइसिस से, it means that expand your area, expand your territory, make sure that you maintain buffer. So earlier when it was USSR, okay, all these countries, they were buffer states. वो रशिया के बफर स्टेट थे. And after the disintegration of USSR, this buffer, this natural protection has gone. ये natural protection खत्म हो गया है यहाँ पे. Okay, so you cannot deny this particular fact. As NATO keep on expanding, so the challenge for the Russia's security also increased. Challenge increase हो गया. That was the point. And it was quite like visible that Russia will do something in Ukraine as well. So as Russia intervened in the case of Georgia, in 2014 the Crimea was annexed, okay, बिल्कुल ही इसी लाइन पे चल रहा है रशिया, ठीक है ना. And recently in the Ukrainian region as well, in the Donbas region, the eastern Ukraine, like they were recognized and there was already pro-Russia separatist movement going on. So ये scenario वहां पे चल रहा था. And counter to that, in 2020, Ukraine was made NATO's enhanced opportunity partner. अब ये enhanced opportunity partner बना दिया गया था NATO को. And this has not gone well with the Russians. This is what they are, you can say, catering it to. There was presence of British and US warships in Black Sea. Black Sea के अंदर US और British warships का present होना. This has not gone down with the Russians. Okay. So in 2019, UK entered into cooperation agreement with Ukraine to develop 2 new naval ports. 2 नए naval port बनाने की बात थी यहाँ पे. And this also threatened the Russian, you can say, security. Russia की security threat हुई है यहाँ से. So this is what you have to understand. That's why Russians have this tendency that specifically in these particular countries there should be pro-Russia government. कि जैसे कैसे करके pro-Russia government होनी चाहिए यहाँ पे. This is what Russians think. They already have influence over Belarus. काफी इन्फ्लुएंस है उनका. एंड राइट नाउ दे डिड समथिंग इन यूक्रेन. जॉर्जिया में भी पहले इन्वेजन हुआ. वी नो द फैक्ट्स. We know the facts. Okay. So clearly, Mr. Putin's grievances, like they were not addressed. And Putin had these grievances that these NATO countries, they keep on expanding. They keep on, you can say, they bombarded Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya. Okay. The anti-ballistic missile treaty, like US unilaterally withdrew from this anti-ballistic missile treaty. खुद ब खुद यूएस यहां से बाहर चला गया. एंड देर वॉज अ मिसाइल डिफेंस डिप्लॉयमेंट इन पोलैंड एंड रोमानिया. तो पोलैंड और रोमानिया तो बहुत पास है रशिया के, और वहां पे मिसाइल डिप्लॉय कर देना, दिस इज व्हाट रशियंस आर नॉट लाइकिंग. एंड दे सेड दैट इनफ इज इनफ, नाउ वी हैव टू प्रूव समथिंग, एंड दिस इज व्हाट दे हैव प्रूव्ड. ओके, दिस इज व्हाट दे हैव प्रूव्ड. This European diplomacy is also at fault here. Okay, the point here is that this Normandy format or Normandy process that we talk, there was a ceasefire that was brokered by Germany, France. Germany और France ने मिलके एक ceasefire broker किया यहाँ पे, which led to the Minsk agreement. Okay, that in the eastern part of Ukraine somehow ceasefire will be brought. Ceasefire यहाँ पे आ जाएगा, लड़ाई खत्म हो जाएगी. This was done. Okay, this was done. But you need to understand the Europeans are divided right now. आज की डेट में Europeans divided हैं. They have their own concerns. I told you, Germany was not ready to provide, you can say, weapons to Ukrainians, saying that like we have to get oil and natural gas from Russians. भाई हमने तेल खरीदना है. We have energy dependence. We have energy dependence. And I would like to tell you few more facts here. देखिए, energy dependence is one thing here. Why Germany is also right now not in a good position, because the former, you can say, chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel. Okay, Angela Merkel, what she did, she somehow said that we will not produce nuclear power. Okay, कि हम जो है हमारे nuclear power plants सब बंद कर देंगे. So all those nuclear power plants were completely stopped. What happened after that? It means that you have to focus on thermal. Okay, and thermal here we means not just coal, it's about burning natural gas. So Germany के अंदर power production natural gas से हो रहा है, and for that they need supply from Russians. As simple as that. So they have this legitimate process. अब उन्होंने ये थोड़ा ना सोचा था कि रशिया जाके अटैक कर देगा. Okay, they thought that things are going smooth. No doubt the Nord Stream 2 has been stopped right now. इसको रोक दिया गया है, but it won't be there for long. दोबारा ये revive हो जाएगा, because it's about the energy security of Germany. They don't have any alternative. They don't have any alternative. Okay, so no doubt, like if you see just few days back, Qatar leader, the leader from Qatar, like he was having this meeting with Europeans and United States, and in that, like this assurance was done that if the supply lines from the Russia is cut, will Qatar be able to provide, you can say, natural gas as at such a scale? क्या उतने ही बड़े स्केल पे क्या कतर ये natural gas provide कर पाएगा? That was the thing. That assurance was already taken. So it wasn't like that कि भी ये Western countries prepare नहीं थे. They were quite prepared for that. Okay, not to that scale. इतना बड़े scale का उनको नहीं लग रहा था, but they were prepared with the sanctions. They thought that we will again bring sanctions, everything will be fine, but it's not like that. Situation is different, altogether different. Look at the present situation right now. So Biden is under pressure. Okay, so there will be elections that will be there in November. Like Americans are going to vote. कुछ election होंगे वहां पे. Okay, and he is at a back foot right now. So he moved out of Afghanistan, and we know that how faulty that move was. कितना नुकसान हुआ है US की image को उसके बाद. Another point is that like he also have to ensure transatlantic unity in NATO, that at least these US and all other European countries, they remain intact. And here he has been able to unite in NATO, specifically in the present scenario. So presently NATO remained united. Okay, this is the point, but they have not been able to provide any solution. That's the second thing. आज की डेट में it is appearing that NATO is somehow uniting, and this is somehow you can say a losing point for Putin. ये Putin के लिए losing point for Putin. Okay, that if NATO remains intact, it means that आपका नुकसान हो गया. NATO has been rejuvenated. Okay, NATO has been rejuvenated. They have realized it that they have to stay together, otherwise it is going to create damage. Okay, and look at the other picture here. Now there is a prelims question, prelims you can say questions related to the geography. Okay, so Russian military, they already have the presence. Okay, and it is going to put pressure on 65 mile Suwalki corridor that constitutes boundary between Lithuania and Poland. This is the prelims level information that you have to note it down as it is. आप इसको note down कीजिए. And here I am talking about, this is the Suwalki gap, the border between Lithuania and Poland. Okay, so you need to understand, on this particular gap it is very easy for Russian forces to completely cut off these three particular countries. बहुत आसान है रशिया के लिए ये काम करना, because they have the presence of forces in the Belarus, they have the presence of forces in Kaliningrad, which is already a part of Russia. So this is the point that you have to understand here. Okay, ये point समझना जरूरी है, that how the game is played. It is quite easy. So ये this pressure is also there on NATO countries, उनके ऊपर भी ये pressure quite visible है, ठीक है ना. So it is said that Putin may claim victory in the near term, but in the long run he has overreached himself. As I told you, dictator's trap, जो मैंने आपको पहले बताया था, dictator's trap. No one is going to tell dictator, sir, you are doing wrong. Everyone will say that, okay, बहुत अच्छा कर रहे हो पुतिन जी. Right now they may be having this confidence that their forex reserve is nearly $640 billion. Okay, but definitely US sanctions will hurt in the long run. Long run में तो बिल्कुल ये hurt होगा. Okay, so his properties have been seized. Other part, what is the worst scenario? Russia will become dependent on China for the political secure, for selling its energy. अपने जो oil and natural gas है वो सब चाइना को बेचना शुरू कर देगा. And it is going to weaken Russians' hand in Central Asia. This is what is going to happen. So when you compare China and Russia, okay, it will appear if Russia is dependent on China, अगर Russia China पे dependent है, okay, then it means that Russia will become a second grade power. China के केस में वो तो second grade power बन जाएगा. This is what Putin has achieved. And like, does he really want this? क्या वाकई रशिया को ये लगता है कि वो second grade power बन के रहे? Just a dependent country. So this is the news that you have to understand. This is the other angle that you have to understand. And right now it is appearing that this challenge is not over. It is not going to be easy for Russians as well. The tough future is there for them. Okay, the tough future is there for them. So let's move to the next editorial, the inflection point for the West-led global order. Okay, so in this he is pointing out that how it is appearing that Western countries, they are at weak end. कहीं ना कहीं उनका नुकसान हुआ है यहाँ पे. It is appearing that their control has completely gone. उनका कंट्रोल completely हाथ से जाता जा रहा है, ठीक है ना. And we will look into this particular aspect here. Okay. So they are saying that the future will be defined by how it responds to the crisis. Now this response is really very important. It is going to show whether they have the strength or not. कि सही मायने में उनके अंदर strength है कि नहीं, या सिर्फ ऐसे sanction लगा देंगे. And we know the legitimacy of sanctions. There is another angle you have to understand. This has also proven few facts. One of the fact is that hard power is still relevant in the present time. Hard power is still relevant in the present time. Please pay attention here. This is also important message. This is what I am telling you beyond this editorial. इस editorial से बाहर की चीज बता रहे हैं हम आप. So Russia is still using hard power in the 21st century. But the point here is that it is not going to be there forever. It is not going to be there forever. Okay. So hard power के ऊपर भी आपको एक तरीके से respond करना पड़ेगा. Now, like Europeans, specifically the NATO countries, do they have this strength? Do they have this strength to exercise their hard power? क्या अपनी hard power को भी वो exercise भी कर पाएंगे? That is the fundamental question that is pointed out in this editorial. Okay, so we know this, the full scale invasion is going on right now. And the point here is that, like, Russia understood the complete scenario. Russia said that, okay, these European countries are divided, they are not on the same page. ठीक है जी, ये divided है, and during the World War II as well, before that they were divided, वो तब भी divided थे, and we know that Germany like started its action after that. This is one part, okay. And other part, Putin knows that US is now focusing on Indo-Pacific, okay. US has no interest, they are focusing on Indo-Pacific. This is what Russians knew. So they knew these particular facts, they must have calculated all these things, and after that this invasion was carried out. So, like German Chancellor, definitely they have suspended this Nord Stream 2, a major gas pipeline between Russia and Germany, but it is at a cost. It is at a cost. Okay, नुकसान इनको भी होगा यहाँ पे, ठीक है ना? Their supply lines. So Europeans, they have announced, this is a, you can say, a darkest star in the European history since Second World War, that the scale of invasion is really very huge. ऐसा पहले नहीं होता था. Okay, so they knew one fact, that Putin wants to restructure the post-Cold War European security order. So in the post-Cold War, Russia was weak. Immediately Russia बहुत weak था. Over the time, Putin has strengthened Russia, and you have to give credit to him. He is in power from last 20 years, okay, 20 साल से power में है, and definitely you have to give credit that he has made Russia, he has taken Russia to this position that Russia has been able to, say, play its role back, gain its ground back, and this is what is there. This is what is there. Counter to that, look at what West. Now it is appearing that they don't have any imagination, they don't have will, and they lack the leadership, because United States was not visible. कहीं पे दिख ही नहीं रहा है United States. Not just that, look what Trump used to say. Trump जब रूल में थे, Trump used to say that these European countries, they need to do more. They need to do more. Okay, this is what Trump used to say. And like during that time as well, it was quite visible that US might not come to rescue these countries. Situation is not the same anymore. ये 1991 नहीं चल रहा है. This is 2022 that is going on. Okay, scenario is different. Scenario is different. So this is appearing to be a most serious security crisis, and it is quite visible. So ये बात समझनी जरूरी है. And the point here is that, like how Europeans are divided right now, it is quite visible that Germans were reluctant to allow NATO allies to ship the German origin weapon to Ukraine. France is using this opportunity, this crisis as an opportunity to come out, to increase its leadership credential. So already in Europe, if you see, there is a rivalry between Germany and France, because UK has moved out of European Union. European Union से UK तो चला गया. They are left with two players, France and Germany, the dominant one. So they are playing their own game. सब अपना अपना गेम खेल रहे हैं यहाँ पे. सब अपना अपना गेम खेल रहे हैं. And the French president, he has said in the past that Europe have to become autonomous. Autonomous in the sense it has to move away from the shadow of United States. भी US के shadow से बाहर आना पड़ेगा यूरोप को. And this is what he said. This is what he said, that you have to revive the strategic autonomy of Europe, that these European countries, they should deal with their crisis on their own, with their own interest. So if these Europeans think that Russia के मामले में बीच में नहीं जाना चाहिए, so they will not go. They are saying that don't get pressurized by the United States. US is not going to come to their soil. Okay, US आ भी नहीं रहा है help करने के लिए. So this is what they are saying, and they have this energy dependence on Russia, and it is quite you can say large. So they are importing 39% of its total gas imports, 30% oil from Russia, and with Central and the Eastern European countries being 100% dependent on Russian gas. वो क्या करेंगे यहाँ पे? Okay, वो क्या करेंगे यहाँ पे? So this is the point you have to understand. So it is the nature of the great power politics that smaller and the weaker nations such as Ukraine struggle to preserve their existence. यही होता है power politics में. And this is what is happening right now. They are struggling to preserve their existence. Okay, they are struggling to preserve their existence. That's why we cannot undermine the importance of military capability. कहीं पे भी आप इसको अंडरमाइन नहीं कर सकते हो, बिकॉज देर आर इंडिविजुअल्स विच प्ले द डिबेट. इंडिया के अंदर एक डिबेट चलती है कि भाई मिलिट्री के ऊपर क्यों स्पेंड कर रहे हो, डेवलपमेंट के ऊपर स्पेंड करो. ओके, डेवलपमेंट पे स्पेंड करो. पीपल से दैट देर आर लॉट ऑफ प्रॉब्लम्स इन इंडिया, व्हाई आर यू कीप ऑन स्पेंडिंग ऑन मिलिट्री? The answer to that is a very good answer by K. Subramanian, who was the father of Jai Shankar, S. Jai Shankar ke father. He was an IAS officer, okay, and he drafted our nuclear doctrine. He gave a beautiful answer to this type of question. He said that we are providing bread. Sarkar bread de rahi hai. And if the government is providing bread, after that there is no choice between butter and bullet. There is no choice between butter and bullet. It will not be like that कि हम डिफेंस सेक्टर के ऊपर अपनी स्पेंडिंग को कम करके अब उस ब्रेड के ऊपर बटर भी लगाते रहें. People have to earn or they earn. Government have the limitation. They have to spend on defense. This is the message. This is the answer that he gave. We are government is providing bread. हम ब्रेड दे रहे हैं. हमारे यहाँ पे फूड सिक्योरिटी एक्ट है. There are subsidies that are provided by the government. After that, you cannot come to this question that there will be a choice between butter and bullet. Bullet is important for the defense. आप बिना मक्खन खाए काम चला सकते हो. You can survive without putting butter on your bread because you are getting a bread. But if your defenses are weak, if your borders are not secure, what will you do? आपके borders अगर secure नहीं है तो आप क्या करोगे? This is the point you have to understand. And this answer was made by him. Okay. So this is the clear picture. People who used to say that military के ऊपर नहीं खर्च करना चाहिए, yes, we do agree. Spending on defense is a dead end because you never know you are going to use those weapons or not. बिल्कुल वो dead hand है. We do agree with that point, but that doesn't mean that we should avoid it. Because look at the scenario right now. So if Russia can attack Ukraine, same thing can happen in India's case as well. Tomorrow, if China start a war in Arunachal Pradesh, what are we going to do? We have to protect our land. We have to protect the sovereignty of this country. Okay. So this is the valuable lesson that we are getting from this particular crisis. ये सारी चीजें हम यहाँ से सीख रहे हैं, ठीक है ना. So there are lot of things that we are learning here. काफी चीजें इधर सीखने को हैं. Okay. Other than that, like we'll move to the next part now. आगे चलते हैं. So here, Air India to fly planes to Ukraine's neighbor. You have to like carry out a major evacuation exercise. Indians who are stuck over there, we have to take them back. It's the responsibility. Ministry has already said, government has already said that they are going to bear the cost. जो भी cost आने वाली है वो सरकार उठाने वाली है, and it's a really good thing. It's a really good thing. This is showing that how responsible as a country we are. Okay, हम अपने लोगों के लिए कितना responsible हैं. Every Indian life matters here. This is the point that we have. तो ये पहले से बहुत चीजें इंप्रूव हुई हैं. सो इफ यू आर राइटिंग एन आंसर ऑन इंडियन डायस्पोरा, आप अगर इंडियन डायस्पोरा के ऊपर एक आंसर लिखते हो, सो यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड वन थिंग. Indian diaspora has been really used well by Modi government. You have to give credit to Modi ji for that, okay? Because there is a history. Now Nehru era was known that Nehru used to say that we should have complete passivity when it comes to Indian diaspora. Completely passive थे हम Indian diaspora को लेके, okay? He used to say that like these individuals, they are not living in India, so they should have their, you can say, allegiance to the country in which they are living. जिस देश में वो रह रहे हैं उस देश के लिए उनका allegiance होना चाहिए. This is what Nehru used to say. Okay, there was a passivity during the Nehru's time. Right now those days are gone. This policy of Nehru continued. Other prime ministers, they also continued. जो भी इंडियंस के साथ बाहर होता था हम लोग कुछ इतना ज़्यादा बोलते नहीं थे. Okay, we used to treat them as separate entity, and this wasn't the right strategy. Okay, so here we have this new, you can say energy that has been brought in by the Modi government. Look at the evacuation that we carried out. There are a lot of emergency evacuation that we carried out. Okay, Libya, Syria, बहुत जगहों से हमने किया है, ठीक है ना. So this is the point you have to understand. Okay, it's a good thing. It's a good thing here. Okay, so we'll move to the next part now. Now Russian envoy's arrival in Delhi may help closer consultation. Okay, definitely this is the tough time we will be carrying out our consultation कि क्या करना है क्या नहीं करना. And I would like to tell you one thing: India abstained from voting. Okay, India abstained from voting means that indirectly it means we are supporting Russians. इसका सीधा साधा ये मतलब है कि हम रशियंस को सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं. ओके, सो no doubt it is going to help us to deal with this dilemma, because at one end US is there, other end Russia is there. तो वोटिंग में पार्ट लेने का नहीं लेने का मतलब we will be able to say that like it was a tough choice for us, so that we moved out of the voting. We cannot criticize Russia because Russia is our traditional ally, a traditional friend who have helped us in the past. Okay, your dependence on Russia is really very, you can say, large here. Large in the sense that for your supply lines, spare parts, you are dependent on Russians. Okay, Russians are ready to share their state of the art technology. उनको उसमें भी प्रॉब्लम नहीं होती है. फ्यूचर के अंदर भी वो हमारे साथ टेक्नोलॉजी शेयर करेंगे. ओके, so we have to be realistic. We should not be, you can say, pressurized by United States. You have to look into your national interest, and your national interest is supreme. ठीक है ना, कोई national interest जो है अपने इंटरेस्ट से ऊपर नहीं होता है. So that is the point, and this is what India is doing right now. Okay, so other than that there is nothing here. We'll move to the next page now. आगे चलते हैं. Okay, so central staff protest over promotions. Now this is a really very alarming thing here. Okay, बहुत ही alarming thing है, and this is one of the problem in the Indian bureaucracy, that the posts are kept vacant. आपके यहाँ पे कितने सालों तक पोस्ट वैकेंट रह जाती है? From last 6 years these individuals are waiting for their promotion. 6 सालों से प्रमोशन के लिए वेट कर रहे हैं लोग. There are 1800 and something vacancies that are there. 1800 के अराउंड पोस्ट खाली हैं जहां पे 6 साल से कोई प्रमोशन नहीं हुआ है. That is the picture of Indian bureaucracy. Sad bureaucracy. Now look at, like, in that situation, will you seriously think, will anyone be motivated? कोई मोटिवेट कैसे होगा? In those 6 years many of them would have been retired. इसने 6 साल में बहुत लंता रिटायर हो गई होगी. Okay, so these are some of the serious issues that we have to address. If we want efficient bureaucracy, आपको ये चीजें करनी पड़ेंगी. मौका दें लोगों को. गवर्नमेंट इज सेइंग दैट द इशू इज पेंडिंग बिकॉज द मैटर इज विद सुप्रीम कोर्ट रिगार्डिंग रिजर्वेशन इन प्रमोशन, कि प्रमोशन में रिजर्वेशन करनी है कि नहीं करनी. सो गवर्नमेंट अपना आर्ग्यूमेंट दे रहा है, बट द पॉइंट हियर इज दैट इट इज द ब्यूरोक्रेसी, पीपल हु आर वर्किंग देयर मोरल इज डाउन. ओके, दैट्स द पॉइंट यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड. That's the major point you have to understand. So we'll move to the next part now. Now Russia willing to talk with Ukraine, Putin is telling Z. And Russians have been putting the, you can say, conditions. So condition is that Ukrainian army should you can say surrender. This is what Russia wants. Putin is making a statement to Ukrainian army. Statement that throw away your government, अपनी सरकार को उखाड़ के बाहर फेंक दो. So this is a real test. This is how psychological war is being played. So today in this particular era it's about the will to fight that is targeted. कहीं ना कहीं will to fight को आप target करते हो. Okay, will to fight have been targeted, and this is what Russians are doing. So this fight is going on. We don't know where it is going to end and how much time it is going to take, but tough times are definitely there. Okay, radiation spike in Chernobyl, this is what Ukraine is saying, but the other point is that it is not at a, you can say, a critical stage till yet. इतना ज़्यादा dangerous अभी level पे नहीं पहुंचा है. So spike तो हुआ है, radiation increase तो हुआ है because there was a fight over this particular nuclear power plant as well. Okay, इधर भी fight हुआ था. ठीक है ना? So this is the point that is there, and the point here is that this whole crisis can turn up into a other refugee crisis for the whole world. पूरी दुनिया के लिए एक और refugee crisis है. So wars, they do bring this refugee crisis, humanitarian crisis, and definitely, like, we have some responsibilities. I don't know how they are going to deal with this. US has said that they are ready to take some of the Ukrainians who want to come to United States. They are ready to provide help. Okay, so this is the present scenario. Now Ukraine crisis, Sri Lanka is saying, like, keep restraint. इनके बोलने से असर पड़ेगा क्या? So this is the clear picture here. India will be impacted in the sense that, like, we are saying that Russian companies which are supposed to provide us fertilizer, okay, we are asking them to operate in rupee, that open an account in Indian banks में account open कीजिए आप, okay, because definitely there will be restrictions in डॉलर में ट्रेड नहीं हो पाएगा क्योंकि यूएस ने रिस्ट्रिक्शन लगा दी हैं. डॉलर इज बीइंग कंट्रोल्ड बाय यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स. दैट्स व्हाई वी आर सेइंग दैट यू कैन ऑपरेट इन रुपी. ओके, रुपी में आप ट्रेड कीजिए. सो दिस इज द एंगल दैट इज बीइंग एक्सप्लोर्ड, दैट योर फर्टिलाइजर इंडस्ट्री इज बीइंग इम्पैक्टेड. हमारे ऊपर इसका असर पड़ेगा. ओके, other part is that when the oil prices are going to increase and Indian economy which was already struggling, हमारी इकोनॉमी तो अभी भी जस्ट ऊपर आने की कोशिश ही कर रही थी. We were just about to regain the damage that was done to us. Okay, so वो करने की कोशिश ही कर रहे थे कि immediately ये crisis हो गया. So your future development prospects have been completely impacted. कहीं ना कहीं प्रॉब्लम वो है, कहीं ना कहीं प्रॉब्लम वो है. Okay, so this is the point you have to understand. This is the point you have to understand, that how the situation is being played, how the situation is being played. There are few other things like Russia-Ukraine crisis to further choke the coal supply. Now, this is also the other angle that is to be looked into. Already there was a shortage of coal. We know this particular part. Few months back, 2-3 महीने पहले ही shortage of coal था. Okay. Now, major producers are fighting with each other. कैसे चलेगी बात? Indian coffee is in jeopardy right now. हमारी कॉफी का एक्सपोर्ट्स यहाँ पे एक तरीके से इम्पैक्ट हो रहा है. So all these things are there. All these things are there. This is a tough time. Definitely it's a globalized world. आपकी इकोनॉमी आइसोलेशन में थोड़ी ना जीती है. Okay. So we are still trying that. Okay, if Russians are not able to supply, we'll take help from Iranians. हम ईरान से हेल्प लेंगे. We may have to buy oil from Iran. This is the, you can say, special time that is there. There are already Iran-US talks that are going on. इनके ऑलरेडी न्यूक्लियर टॉक्स चल रहे हैं एंड वी डोंट नो व्हेन दे विल बी कंक्लूडेड, बट सिचुएशन इज लाइक दिस ओनली. यू हैव टू मेक योर सिस्टम वर्क. आप कब तक रिस्ट्रिक्शंस और इनकी परवाह करते रहोगे? सो दीज आर फ्यू थिंग्स दैट आर देयर इन टुडेज न्यूज़पेपर. ओके, so I guess now I am going to look into your comment. Anur Sri is saying, sir, but India have to increase expanding on manufacturing of weapons. Yes, बिल्कुल हमें करना पड़ेगा. US also trying to introduce on natural gas and crude oil in the international market. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. So yesterday there was one news I read, like it was quite, you can say, surprising for me that okay, US is putting sanctions on Russia. एक तरफ तो रशिया के ऊपर sanction लगा रहा है. Counter to that, US wants to sell its own natural gas and oil to the European countries. कि भी उसके प्लेस में बोल रहे हैं कि उनसे मत लो, हमसे ले लो. ठीक है ना? This is the scenario. This is the scenario. Santosh Behra sir, namaskar. How the question would be formed from this particular topic? See, from the prelims perspective, if you see, the question can be around this particular part. Okay, the map that we discussed. ठीक है ना? थोड़ा बहुत map से आएगा. The map in the sense that you have to understand, you should know now the Black Sea is also in focus here. So you should be understanding which or countries which are fording maritime coast with Black Sea. कितने countries का maritime coast बनता है Black Sea के साथ? The question can be around the Sea of Azov. Okay, is the extension of which particular part? The question can be around this Carpathian mountains as well. Okay, so ये थोड़ी चीजें आपको थोड़ा ध्यान रखना होगा बस. ठीक है ना? So prelims का question तो इस तरीके से आएगा. So why they target civilians? Civilians are target to completely destroy the will of the nation to fight. Okay, to put pressure on Ukrainian army कि Ukrainian army should give up their arms, they should end the war because otherwise civilians will die. That's why civilians are targeted. ठीक है ना? इस तरीके से टारगेट किया जाता है, to completely destroy the will of your opponent to fight. Okay, so to put pressure on Ukrainian army, this is the point. So Santosh Behra, the other point is that the question in mains can be asked. Mains के ऊपर तो सीधा question आएगा, the present Ukrainian crisis and its impact on India. Okay, direct question will be like this. So you will be analyzing it from the, you can say, detail here, that like the present Russia-Ukraine war and how it is going to turn up the geopolitics in the present time. This will be the question that will be asked in your GS paper 2. Okay, आपके GS paper 2 international relations के अंदर, mains के अंदर इस तरीके का सवाल बनता है. ठीक है ना? सो नो इन केस ऑफ अफगानिस्तान. अनुश्री सर, करना भी चाहिए सपोर्ट रशिया को, गुड फॉर इंडिया. इंडिया हैज़ डन द सेम थिंग इन केस ऑफ फिलीपींस इशू. यस, We do this few things here, and before the Philippines as well, like during the Crimea time as well, there was same type of resolutions that were brought in United Nations Security Council. तो हमने तब भी शायद कुछ पार्ट नहीं लिया था, ठीक है ना. सो एट दैट टाइम ऑल्सो वी वर टाइट लिप्ड, वी डिडंट टेक पार्ट इन द लाइक वोटिंग एंड ऑल. सो इस टाइप की चीज़ चलती है. ओके. सो this is the complete picture that is there, and you need to understand like the whole world should be alarming in the sense that all the world wars, they started with Europe, and this is also one of the crises, okay, which is going on in Europe. So tomorrow if like Russia commits another mistake and start attacking a NATO country, then US will come into picture. Okay, then it won't be that easy. उस टाइम पे इतना easy नहीं होगा. Like Russians, they must have calculated some of the things. इतने समझदार पुतिन साहब ज़रूर हैं, ठीक है ना. इतने समझदार वो खुद ज़रूर हैं. ओके. सो कैन वी आस्क ईरान टू ट्रेड इन रुपी? डेफिनेटली आप बोल सकते हो उनको, लेकिन यूएस विल कीप एन आई ऑन यू. यूएस आपके ऊपर नज़र रखता है, एंड वी एक्सपोर्ट अ लॉट टू यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स. वी डू अ लॉट ऑफ बिजनेस विद यूनाइटेड स्टेट, एंड यू कैन नॉट मेक यूएस एंग्री. आप यूएस को एंग्री नहीं करते हो. दैट्स वाई we follow to their instruction. But this scenario is different. Already US is in talks with Iran to somehow like come out with some of the conclusion, किसी बात पे आ जाए और न्यूक्लियर डील हो जाए. वो अपनी तरफ से ट्राई कर रहे हैं, एंड दिस इज द प्रेशर ऑन यूएस एज वेल. ओके, यूएस के ऊपर भी अब एक प्रेशर है कि अब मेजर टारगेट, मेजर यू कैन से, उनके लिए चैलेंज क्या है. ईरान बड़ा चैलेंज है या रशिया बड़ा चैलेंज है? दिस इज व्हाट दे हैव टू कैलकुलेट. इवन द इरानियंस आर वेरी स्मार्ट. ओके. So this is how things are interlinked. चीज़ें इतनी आसान नहीं हैं. So Priyanka is saying, sir, if America can't help Ukraine, then why encourage and give false offer support for them? Isn't UK behind the power? This is not like this. US must not have anticipated that war will be at this scale. इतने बड़े स्केल का वॉर उन्होंने शायद एंटिसिपेट नहीं किया था. दे मस्ट हैव प्रोवाइडेड सम ऑफ द मिसाइल डिफेंस सिस्टम. यूक्रेन को मिसाइल डिफेंस सिस्टम दिया हुआ था. बट अदर पॉइंट इज दैट इट इज अप टू द विल ऑफ द यूक्रेनियंस टू फाइट. उसके अंदर यूएस कुछ नहीं कर सकता है. यूएस विल प्रोवाइड वेपन्स, सिर्फ वेपन्स प्रोवाइड कर सकता है. विल ऑफ यूक्रेनियंस टू फाइट, दैट आर दे रेडी टू सेक्रीफाइस, हाउ मच कैन दे सेक्रीफाइस, इट इज अप टू देम टू डिसाइड. इट इज अप टू देम टू डिसाइड. ओके. वो कोई भी आपको नहीं दे सकता है, ठीक है ना. वो कोई भी आपको नहीं बता सकता है, कोई भी सिखा नहीं सकता है. So this is what we have in today's session. So that's it for the day. Thank you very much.